Yeah, I think progress has definitely been stalled because of my gender. I feel like when I was younger there was nothing really, like the pathways weren't known, there was nothing really to aim for, there was no professional football, it was just playing it for the game, and I feel like it kind of still is now, but obviously it's better.
Yeah, if I wasn't able to play football, like because of who I am, it would obviously be tough to deal with. When we won the Euros, is probably like the happiest I've been, like just for someone else, just seeing that and just
Like when I was younger, there was nothing really, like the pathways weren't known, there was nothing really to aim for, there was no professional football, it was just playing it for the game, and I feel like it kind of still is now, but obviously it's better.
The FA banned women from playing football on FA-affiliated pitches in December 1921. The ban was in place for nearly 50 years, so it was lifted, I think, in 1970. I became aware that women's football had a much longer history than I ever realised growing up. There's a lot of football history in Sheffield, but very little in the books about Sheffield football history about women. And I thought, well, if I've never heard of this, probably nobody else has either. I thought I'd do something about it. I work for Football Unites Racing Divides. We exist to engage with underrepresented groups to hopefully improve equality of opportunity within football and within wider society as well. Stoppage Time is a project that we came up with a couple of years ago to research and promote the hidden history of women's football in the Sheffield area. This is the South team, we think, from the Vickers projectile shot. We can see that the pitch is extremely wet and muddy. So the only player in that match that is named is Nellie Marshall, who scored the only goal. She was known as Little Fatty. Well, she doesn't look particularly fat to me, but she was apparently by far the best player on the pitch. Women didn't even have the right to vote, and that came initially, I think, for women over 30, was it, in 1918? So they certainly weren't regarded as equal citizens in any way, really, not just on the sports pitch. They would have had to presumably do a full day's work in the munitions factories or wherever else they were working, and then go home and look after the family as well. I'm sure women would have faced a lot of barriers playing football at that time. It was not something that they were known to do. Gender roles were probably a lot more rigid than they are now. They were probably subject to a lot of ridicule. They were probably never played before, or probably at least not till they started working in the factories. The women would mostly have been from working class backgrounds, doing hard, heavy manual labour, so they were already challenging conventional views of what women could do. The ball looks like an old heavy leather one, which probably got heavier and heavier throughout the match as it gathered more and more mud. Players seem to be wearing some kind of ankle boots. She worked over to the other side of the field, beating all competitors, some of whom were on her own side, and when she was 20 yards from goal, the defence grew anxious. The backs encouraged each other to stop her, but neither could decide that the psychological moment had arrived until the goalkeeper called out, "Now then, Mrs. So-and-so, step out a bit," whereupon Mrs. So-and-so stepped out, collided with the referee, and went down with a fearful splash. Meanwhile, the little forward sidestepped towards the goal and with a well-placed daisy cutter gave her side the victory. The same forward subsequently missed a penalty given of her hands, but she was easily the star of the game. I think the right to play football is really important for women because it's just symbolic of women's place in society, really. I have to say, I never thought when I was a kid that women's football would get to the point it has done. Actually, it's kind of beyond my wildest dreams in a way. The buzz that there was around the Women's Euros last summer and the size of some of the attendances, I didn't really ever expect to see that. Yeah, I went to watch the first England match at Old Trafford with 60-something thousand other people, with a really high proportion of women and girls, and yeah, it was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. It was incredible.